Hi there, Dr. Todd Austin here from Austin Family Chiropractic in Verdon, Illinois. I am coming to you today from my Tampa Bay Buccaneers room, my office room at the clinic, but you might notice that I'm wearing some Patriot stuff. I will get into that. This is my fifth video in my series about concussions. There will be some significance to a couple of things I'll mention early on. One is the New England Patriots. The other is the fact that even though the Bucs have been my primary NFL and NFC team since 1979, I became a Patriots fan in 1993. So I want you to remember that date, 1993. It has some other significance. I'm going to talk to you today about what age I think it's appropriate for children to be playing football. And the other thing I'm going to be talking about today is baseline concussion testing. And the two of these tie in. In the last video, if you caught that, I talked about second impact syndrome. This video is going to tie in with that. So, first of all, when we think about concussions, it's pretty commonplace that people realize, you get the bell rung, and it's pretty commonplace people realize, the person that got concussed might have a headache. But there are a lot of other symptoms that we could see acutely with concussions or long-term with what we call post-concussion syndrome. Some of those other symptoms that you may not have known about with concussions could be memory loss. It could affect our judgment. It could affect our reflexes. It could affect our speech. It could affect our balance, our coordination. It could even affect and mess with our sleep patterns. So these are all things that can be affected by concussions. Now, there is a test called the baseline concussion test. And so this is something you would see a medical provider, sometimes an athletic trainer as well could help you with that. Now, I recently talked to a gentleman locally here in Central Illinois. His name is Pete Stoll. He's the director or the coordinator of sports medicine for the Springfield Clinic. And he was explaining to me that they don't start doing baseline concussion tests until 7th grade. He said when you do them on 5th graders and 6th graders, you find that you're getting incorrect readings, essentially. Their brains are not really ready at that age to be ready for and to respond well as far as giving the provider the info they need to a baseline concussion test. And I say that because some of these kids that are starting out around here, they call it JFL or Junior Football League. They're starting these kids out in 5th grade playing football. In my opinion, and I may miff off a lot of parents by saying this. I know people here in my little town of Verdon, Illinois, a lot of them take their football pretty damn seriously. I take my football seriously too, but as a healthcare provider, I got to look at the safety of my patients, and I got to look at what I know as a provider, as a doctor, as a physician, which is some things I didn't know just as a fan. And I've been a football fan since the age of 8. So there were a lot of things I didn't know then in 1973 as a fan that I do know now as a chiropractic physician in the year 2017. So baseline concussion testing is not available really until you're in 7th grade. So if you want to play football in 5th or 6th grade, I wouldn't really recommend it, but that's obviously up to the student athlete and the parents at that point, and they need to make the best decision for that family. But if we look at the baseline concussion testing, it's essentially a preseason exam that checks both an athlete's balance and their brain function. And this includes learning and memory skills, the ability to pay attention or concentrate, how quickly he thinks and or solves problems, as well as for the presence of any concussion symptoms that may be present when the test is given. So that's what a baseline concussion test is for. Now, what baseline testing helps us with as healthcare professionals, it helps us to make comparisons through post-injury testing, and then it aids the physicians or the healthcare providers or the trainers in determining when the athlete can safely resume playing sports. So although baseline testing obviously won't prevent a first concussion from occurring, it will allow coaches, doctors, and athletic trainers an objective test to diagnose concussions when they do happen and to prevent athletes from returning to competition too soon, thus making their injury worse. And that ties us in perfectly with what I talked about in the last video. This takes us back to what we call second injury or second impact syndrome, SIS, which I talked about. And so baseline testing actually offers us a great way to prevent a second impact from occurring before the athlete's brain is adequately healed from their first concussive episode. So how awesome is that? That we can actually find that information after a concussion and be able to say no, conclusively, this athlete is not ready to return to play again. This athlete is not ready to return to practice again if practice involves contact. So that's the significance and the importance of baseline concussion testing, but once again, we can only do that if you're 7th grader or older. I became a Pats fan in '93. I said the significance of that year. I became a Pats fan in '93 because Drew Bledsoe was one of my favorite college quarterbacks, and that's the year the Patriots drafted him. But in the state of California, in the year 1993, a man that we now know as the greatest quarterback of all time, the GOAT, Tom Brady, number 12, TB12, took his first snap in 1993 in a tackle football game as a sophomore. He played for the team in San Mateo, California. So sophomore, he takes his first snap at the age of 16 in a tackle football game. So obviously, Tom Brady did not have any concussions as a 5th grader, as a 6th grader, as a 7th grader, as an 8th grader, or as a 9th grader, because he didn't play tackle football. He took his first meaningful snap in a tackle football game at the age of 16. Now, we look at Tom Brady now. He's been to 7 Super Bowls. He darn near won 7 Super Bowls, but he did win 5 Super Bowls. And what else? We talk about Tom Brady just turned 40, and he seems to be playing at the top of his game. I mean, he's not showing any sign of slowing down. So what can we attribute that to? Well, we may be able to attribute some of it to the fact that he didn't have any concussions as a 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th grader. So I hope you can follow that logic there. I talked about in video 1 that one of the doctors that I had the opportunity to attend his classes was Dr. Robert C. Cantu. He's a medical doctor. He's on the NFL Head and Neck Injury Subcommittee. He's one of the leading researchers as it relates to CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And he basically went into the details there about, he really feels people should be more like Tom Brady and that they should wait until they're about 16 before they play contact sports, including tackle football. Now, I will say that I put it out there on Facebook the other day that I was going to be doing this video. I did get a response from a fellow chiropractor who practices in Jerseyville, Illinois. That's Dr. Jacob Shearer. And he left a comment that I'd like to read to you as well, which makes perfect sense. He said, I manage the healthcare of a professional MMA team, mixed martial arts. It's never safe. I just think that people think that when a healthcare professional says it's okay or not, most people associate the level of danger with the decision. The level of danger is always high. We just have to control situations until the young athletes are old enough to understand their responsibility of being an athlete. And so I replied to that, very well said, Dr. Jacob. And so that is something else I guess I want to say is I'm not saying that if you wait till 16 to play football, you're never going to get a concussion, that you're never going to get a serious traumatic injury, or that you're never going to suffer the consequences of second injury syndrome or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. But I'm saying, in my opinion, I would rather you wait until you're closer to the age of 16, like the GOAT did, than to start playing football in 5th grade. So that's just my opinion on the matter. Once again, I appreciate you listening. I hope you got something out of this. And hey, the 2017 NFL season is coming up on us here in about 8 days. I'm going to say go Bucks and go Patriots. Thank you for watching. Have a terrific day and enjoy watching football this season.